So you've decided to play Star Citizen's new 4.0 update and take a venture into Pyro. Well, do I have some news for you? It's a lawless place. If you're used to Stanton, there is no security here. There's hardly armistice zones. There's not a whole lot of safe places to go in Pyro. Another thing about it is that it's huge. It is a really big system, and it can be a little bit difficult to find things such as vehicle services to repair your ship, rearm, refuel, etc. So where do you go? What do you do? Is it safe to go to certain places? Let's find out. There's going to be two main factions that you're going to be dealing with in Pyro. And what you do with each of those factions will affect your reputation with the other. So whenever you're doing a mission for the headhunters, you're going to gain negative reputation with the citizens for prosperity. Now, if you do missions vice versa for the citizens, you're going to gain negative rep with the headhunters. You're going to become hostile. They are not going to like you. Therefore, if you go to locations that are held by that faction, you're going to be met with hostility and violence and trespassing. So, when you're looking for places to repair your ship, refuel, etc., it's not quite the same as you're doing it in Stanton. In Stanton, there really is no negative place that you go to that you're not going to be able to refuel or repair. Stanton has mining outposts on almost every planet and moon that you can go to. The four main planets all have orbital stations above them that you can freely go to, unless you're a criminal. Unless you're a criminal in Stanton, that's the only time you have to really worry about where you can go. But there are no criminals in Pyro. Pretty much everybody's a criminal, but there is rep. So let me show you here in the Moby Glass. When you look at your contracts, you're going to see mostly two main ones that you're dealing with, like I mentioned. So Citizens for Prosperity and Headhunters. Now, Citizens for Prosperity and Headhunters together, they both have multiple locations within Pyro, mostly planet-side locations that you can do repairs and refuels at. Now, pretty much every space station in Pyro is going to be owned and managed by Rough and Ready Gang. Rough and Ready Gang, at least at this time, maybe it happens later in the contract, later in rep gain. I'm not really sure. You haven't seen it in the early testing, but you don't really get a whole lot of contracts for them, so you don't really deal with rep for them. I imagine if you got negative rep with Rough and Ready, you'd be in kind of a rough spot because they own pretty much every space station in Pyro right now. So like if you go to the map here, you zoom out, you see how big Pyro is, right? It's a huge area. Every one of these stations in Pyro is owned by Rough and Ready. So these are like the orbital stations in Stanton, or the stations that are at some of the Lagrange points in Stanton, etc. One of the neat features, if you're not aware of it, is in the map here, you can click on this little magnifying glass for search locations, and it'll actually give you a list of locations, which is very handy. So it'll list all of the planets for you, many of the land locations, planet-side locations, moon-side locations that you can go to, but it'll also have all of the space stations as well. So you see there are three main ones, which are your home locations that you can choose in Pyro: Checkmate, Ruin Station, and Obituary. Those three are going to be very popular locations and probably very highly likely to have PvP at those locations. So if you're kind of going into Pyro without wanting to run into the thick of things and you get into a tussle, I would suggest kind of avoiding those three, specifically Obituary. Obituary is right next to a planet called Bloom, and Bloom is an extremely popular location due to its kind of Earth-like atmosphere and ambiance, and missions there tend to take you to locations that attract a lot of attention, and where there's a lot of people that gather, there's going to be a lot of PvP, and people looking for fights, people looking to start fights, or just shoot people. You know, it's one of those things. So I would definitely avoid Obituary, or if you want to jump into Pyro to do PvP, to look for a fight, to look for trouble, whatever it is. Obituary is a great place to go. The only thing is you do have to be careful because just like any of these stations currently, there's not really any security there, right? You can't really piss off Rough and Ready currently, so they don't really protect you. You can get shot coming straight out of your hangar, so you do have to be careful. But if you go back and you look at pretty much any space station in Pyro, they are all going to be by Rough and Ready. So if you are near one of these stations and you need fuel, you need repairs, you can freely do so, right? I don't believe there's anything you can do currently in the game with this patch that is going to give you negative rep for Rough and Ready and prevent you from being able to land at one of these locations. That being said, if you go way out here to Terminus, let's say you go out here to Terminus and you realize, oh crap, I'm really low on fuel. You know, you're in your small starter ship, doesn't have a huge fuel tank, and you end up at Terminus and you've got a pretty low fuel tank. Terminus does have Ruin Station next to it, but let's just pretend like Ruin Station isn't here. There are planets. Only 3 of these planets really even have a station right next to them. So let's say you end up at one of the moons, you end up with one of the planets that doesn't have a station nearby, and you need fuel. You don't have enough fuel to jump to wherever the next closest space station is. So for example, this one is going to be, let's see, what is the next closest one to here? No, there isn't really one. You've got Rat's Nest over here. You've got Megumi refueling way over here. These are all way too far. The distance to these is very far away. So if Ruin Station wasn't here, or Ruin Station wasn't an option for you to go to, you can look at locations planet side. And the thing is when you're looking at these locations planet side, you do have to look at who is running that location. There's 2 things you actually have to look at. There's who's running it, and do they have vehicle services? Can they even refuel you and repair you? Are they capable of doing that? Not all of these locations can, even if they are aligned with your reputation. So as you see, Rough Landing here, jurisdiction is Headhunters, so you have to have positive rep with them. You can't be hostile to them. They don't have vehicle services at that location. Now, if you look at Last Landing, on the other hand, I'm familiar with this place, also owned by Headhunters. They do have vehicle services, so that means you can land at this location, and you will be able to refuel, restock, rearm, repair, all the rees you need. You could do at that location. Now, you cannot do that at this location if you've been doing missions for Citizens for Prosperity, because if you're doing missions for them, you will have negative rep with the Headhunters, and if you go to this location, they will be hostile to you. So they do have defense turrets. Obviously, the NPCs themselves will shoot at you, etc. There are a few locations that are owned by the Xenothreat, have their jurisdiction there, but honestly, I haven't found one that has vehicle services or anything. They're all just kind of like, I'm not going to say derelict locations, but they're just an outpost. Like, they don't have any services there. I'm not sure if they're planning on adding more for Xenothreat. There are a lot of moons and not planets, but there are a lot of moons currently in Pyro that are just very barren. They don't have very many points of interest on them. At least ones with QT points and actual outposts where you can do things on. So another example here, this one's located, owned by Citizens for Prosperity. So they don't have vehicle services here. Some of these icons are also not accurate. You can go to some of these locations, and I don't know why it says you can buy vehicles there, but there is no shop or terminal to buy vehicles that I've been able to find. I don't know if this is something that they're going to allow in the future. Maybe they're going to put ground vehicles that are purchasable at some of these locations, so you can go there and you can buy yourself a Dragonfly, or you can buy, something like that. I doubt you're going to be able to buy ships at these locations, but maybe they're planning on adding the ability to buy ground vehicles at some of these, just so you can have them and you can spawn them, hopefully, because there's not really a whole lot of locations in Pyro, if any, that you can spawn a ground vehicle. Unlike in Stanton, where you can go to basically any mining outpost and you can spawn a ground vehicle, load it up in your ship, and go off and do whatever you want. Pyro doesn't have that. They do have locations that specify having stuff like a garage. I'm not sure if I can find one on this planet here. but there are some locations that say garage on them. And even at those locations, I have not found a spot where you can actually spawn the ground vehicle. So I'm not sure why it says there's a garage there. Maybe it's just incomplete. That is possible. I'm sure a lot of Pyro is probably still incomplete. But, you know, we get what we get. So that's the reason I made this video. I just kind of wanted to point out the locations in Pyro where you can get what you need. Because like I said, it is a very big system. If you bring a smaller starter ship in here, or just a smaller ship in general, you can run out of QT fuel very quickly, and you can get yourself stuck if you're going to any of these asteroid clusters, any of these RAB asteroid bases, etc. But I just wanted to help out with that. Just do note that Pyro does have rep, and whoever you do missions for in Pyro, and it's not even just missions. Say you're going to a location that has Citizens for Prosperity there, and you end up shooting someone that is aligned with Citizens of Prosperity, that will also earn you negative rep. So you do have to be careful who you attack in Pyro, because it will affect your ability to just do things in general. So it's not quite like Stanton. Stanton, the only thing that prevents you is a crime stat. In Pyro, you do have to worry about who you have rep with. So that's going to be it for now. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot them in the comments below. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, hit like. If you disliked it, hit dislike. Feel free to subscribe for more videos in the future, and we'll see you in the next one.